Hello, Abbott Elementary fans, teacher friends, and anyone else watching from the bushes. I am Regina from ReginaCordell.com, Regina Cordell, PhD, and wherever else Regina Cordell is doing her e-commerce, e-conversations, online chat. But y'all didn't come here for all of that. Today we are talking about Season 1, Episode 6, called The Gifted Program, on the best show on TV right now, Abbott Elementary. The show begins with one of the funniest scenes, and if you have ever worked in a school, if you are a para, a tutor, a teacher, an admin, whatever, you know this scene oh so well. You are working with the student, that student. You are teaching a concept. And instead of the student focusing on the concept, they're all on the outlier. So that's what Miss Teague, or Janine, was doing. She was teaching the child how to add or subtract or something, and she was using real potatoes. Now, I personally don't know where she found real potatoes in a school, in a public school. Everybody knows that these schools have the worst food today. All of that heat and eat stuff, honey, GMO, pre-prepared. It's a mess. I cannot believe they served that, but they had the potatoes, and she was trying to use a tangible object to help the kid to understand, and instead of the kid focusing on the math portion, she was focusing on hating potatoes, and poor Janine was getting so frustrated. If you have ever worked in a classroom or with a student, you know this scenario oh so well. It tickled me to my soul. I could just picture each student that I have ever worked with that ran into that challenge, but in the end it turns out to be a little funny, and the kids are talented and gifted in other areas. Moving on to the next scenario, there's a new student in this school, and he comes from a different school in which he was in the gifted program, and Abbott Elementary does not have a gifted program. So Ava uses this opportunity, Ava, the showboating principal, uses this opportunity to just kind of go around the school and do her thing, which is really not her job. And she does not miss an opportunity to jab at others in the meantime. So this kind of gets the spark with Janine going, and she wants to create a gifted program for Abbott Elementary. That's the Gen Z, that's the young millennial in her, to create things and just have this whole mindset of just saving the world. But that's not a bad mindset to have, is it? You let me know down in the comments if you are a new teacher and you have this mindset and you want to change things, and there are other people, maybe the older teachers in the school, that are into routines and they're just not seizing those opportunities. Let me know. Anyway, so Miss Teagues introduces the gifted program, and everybody seems on board except Gregory. And I think Gregory is a little detached for other reasons. They kind of reveal it later on, but I think it's a little bit more than that. Anyway, then it goes to the next scene with Mrs. Shementi. Now, I can't remember her first name, what they call her that. That is the other second grade teacher. So she is a divorcee. She's been in the school a long time. She has this cute little friendship with Miss Howard. And if anybody has ever worked in a school, you do kind of form tight bonds with certain people in the schools. Now, some people you avoid like the plague, because you just do. You just avoid them. You're on a good morning, have a good day kind of basis, or email only kind of basis, because it's just like that. But Miss Howard and Miss Shementi have the cutest little relationship, and Miss Shementi is a divorcee. And so there's this delivery guy that comes into the school, and they kind of have this little flirting thing going on, and Miss Howard is encouraging Miss Shementi to maybe shoot her shot a little bit. Maybe I am just of a different generation, or maybe I don't know, it's just not my thing to push up or to shoot my shot with men. You men, you need to do your thing. And speaking of, somebody on the internet is spreading rumors saying I am in my 50s. I am nowhere near my 50s. But That's another conversation for another time, and I'll share a little bit more about that later. So back to this whole Miss Shementi thing. So Miss Shementi is looking at the delivery guide. So he finally takes the flirtation and makes a move and invites her out for Dave and Buster's. So Miss Shementi uses that, oh, Dave and Buster's, why would anybody invite me there? Just kind of sabotaging the whole thing because she's really uncomfortable with moving on. I guess she's been hurt from her divorce and whatever after that. So she has this little conversation with Miss Howard and Miss Howard's husband and saying that he's the bar, this and that. But eventually, I'm going to just wrap their part up. Eventually, she does agree to go out with a delivery driver. And hopefully, they'll have a good time. But I don't think that little storyline is going to do anything because it really does not really go along with the theme of Abbott Elementary. Back to the gifted program. So Ava agrees to have this gifted program. And so she was like, well, nobody has time in their schedule to do the program except who? Jacob the white savior. I'm really not liking his character. And maybe because it goes along with that whole white savior syndrome. And he's just really doing too much to try to fit in versus being himself, like trying to adapt to black culture and say different things. I just don't like people who do that. Just be yourself. You can be a fantastic teacher without trying to patronize black people. I can't stand that. But maybe it's written in the show to have this specific dialogue because these kind of people are in urban schools, particularly from the Teach for America. I am so not a Teach for America supporter. So anyway, Jacob is put in the place to do the gifted program. So it seems to go well. He's getting his savior on. The kids are engaged and the other kids are in the school, kind of want to be in the program because those kids are doing cool things. Then the idea seems to go left because the other kids are feeling bad. And then that's where Gregory puts in that, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't have the gifted program because, the other kids feel bad. And I felt bad, too, when I was in school because I wasn't in the gifted program. Oh, my God. Can we have a conversation about that? And I'm glad Ava said this. I think it was Ava that said this. So let's kind of go forward a little bit. So, no, let's go back. I was going to go forward and tell what Ava said, but let's go back. So, anyway, so that's what Gregory said about the idea. So, Janine decided to have a special program in her class to accommodate the students who so-called had hurt feelings. But Ava didn't have any funds earmarked for gifted because there were no traditionally gifted students in the school at the time. So Janine went off the grid with Miss Shementi and got the resources for the school. Now that's a conversation we also need to have. Teachers fund so much in their classrooms and they do so much to make sure that kids have the things that they need, but then get criticized for bringing those resources inside of the school, which they kind of did with Janine's idea because it went left. She brought in some eggs that looked like chicken eggs because that's what Jacob used for his gifted program, but they turned out to be snake eggs and went left, yada. So, yeah, teacher-funded idea gone wrong. Got criticized for it. It happens a lot in regular schools, but that brings me back to Greg because that was kind of important, but not that important. Here's Greg and his feelings where I just like, Greg, no. And I think this may be a boomer versus Gen X versus older millennial versus younger millennial versus Gen Z. And Ava said it. If everyone is special, then no one is special because Greg just went on and on about how he felt about the gifted program and he didn't feel included and he got turned off. And I think I understand that, but this is an opportunity to teach kids that everything isn't for you. Like, you're not going to get to do everything instead of making it a whole school situation or everybody is involved situation. I think that is so detrimental to students. It does not teach students coping strategies and the understanding that they are not going to always be included in everything, because that's not how life works. So I think his feelings are valid, and I think that there should be programs in place to help kids deal with those feelings of not being included, but also explain to them that you're not going to be included. Everyone can't be on the basketball team. Everyone cannot be in the gifted program. Just like everyone is not in special ed. Nobody is crying when they're not included in special ed, but you want to cry when you're not included in gifted. It's just not a program for everybody. So then they try to use the analogy about snakes being bad and chickens and this, that, and the other. Snakes aren't bad. You could still use the snakes as a part of the life cycle process because they have eggs and this and that. And why did the other kids get snakes and the other kids get chickens? I'm like, this is a whole bunch of Gen Z, younger millennial bullshit, okay? You just, those are my feelings. I'm sure other Gen X people think the same way, especially boomers. It's just not for everybody. Anyway, moving right along. And I really think that was pretty much it, because they ended the show with, if everyone is special, then no one is special. And I think that is true. It's just take the opportunity to teach children, or teach some adults really don't get it, that everything isn't for everybody and everything is not for you. And if you want that particular thing, you may need to work a little harder, or even if you work hard or do the best that you can, you still may not get it. But life still goes on and you can still be great. And that was Season 1, Episode 6 of Abbott Elementary Gifted Program. Oh, before I go, Janine and Gregory's energy. I like it. I see it budding. I think it could be a thing. But just like in real life, professional women getting with these no good, bummy people, and then letting that prevent or be a barrier, not prevent, could be prevent, depending on the situation, be a barrier to their love greatness. If you know a sister that is in that situation, tell her to stop. Get her a Gregory. So life can be great, because women, black women, deserve luxury and love and all the things. I am Regina for Regina Cordell. Regina Cordell Online, UX researcher, writer, and all the ways to make money online. I'm going to go before I start talking too much. See y'all next week, I hope.